Well, I would say Aaron Donald, and I only mean that based on his recent string of events. We got to think about. We know he's the best defensive player in the game. We know what a phenomenal stud that he is. We know he's coming off. He's a two-time defensive player of the year. He had 20 and a half sacks. We know what a monster he is. Last time I checked, he ain't had a sack in like the last 4 games. Last time I checked, on the season thus far, he hasn't had a single sack. And in 2 complete games, he has a grand total of 2 tackles. You know, so when we look at him numbers-wise and impact-wise, we haven't seen that. Now, obviously, he was the guy in Drew Brees' face when Drew Brees threw that pass and ultimately got his thumb hurt, and we get all of that. And I want to be very, very clear. This is Aaron Donald we talk about here. A stud, a superstar, the best in the business on the defensive side of the ball. Not just mad respect, reverence, and deference to him. I'm only comparing him to him. And I'm saying that over the last 3 or 4 games or so, including the playoffs last year, he hasn't done, what we're accustomed to seeing him
choking
do.
On that nonsense.
That's all I'm trying to say.
And I'm saying
because of that, that's what I expect.
Look, Aaron Donald is rightly where J.J. Watt used to be, right? Like I was saying Khalil Mack, if he's healthy, maybe like where no. Aaron Donald, because when you look at the numbers, it's ridiculous. Even when you put 2 guys on him, no matter what you do, he gets more penetration, more hits at the quarterback, pressures the quarterback, sacks, etc. He is probably at his peak the greatest defensive tackle who ever lived already, okay? So I'm taking for granted what Aaron Donald's going to do. Like, by the way, look at his last couple games. I don't know, he just knocked out Drew Brees for 6 or 8 weeks or forever. Like, we'll see. And it's not just that he was in his face. He's the guy who got his hands on Drew Brees' hand. I mean, that's what he did. So Aaron Donald is what he is. If Odell Beckham Jr., who I believe for his position is maybe more talented than Aaron Donald for his position, but is not where Aaron Donald is in terms of accomplishment at his position, what's the difference? The difference is consistency. Aaron Donald is always a superstar. Odell is sometimes a superstar, which is why, even though I believe he's the best wideout, I can't prove it. If you want to come in with you, the AB or DeAndre Hopkins or Julio Jones, I can't prove otherwise, even though I think Odell is better than those guys. In order for the Browns, who remember, don't have Zeitler, good pass blocking guard, not that it really matters against Donald, but where the offensive line's been a bit of an issue. When you're going up against Aaron Donald, you must get production like extra from somewhere else. The best player on their offense is Odell Beckham Jr., and it's a stacked offense. If they want to win, Odell's got to ball out of control. The answer is Odell Beckham Jr.
No, they can win without Odell balling out of control. I don't know where to start with all this nonsense. Like, you guys, we all have blind spots, but you guys pretending that there is anybody comparable to Aaron Donald is outrageous. I don't even know that I care what the question is anymore. You started saying that like sacks matter. Sacks don't necessarily matter. Even though he led the league in sacks last year, they don't necessarily matter for the impact that he has on the game. And comparing him, I think Max just said that you might argue that Odell is better at his position or more talented at his position than Aaron Donald. Yeah. That is foolishness. There is nobody. Aaron Donald is the best in the history of professional football at defensive tackle. No one has said that about Odell Beckham.
Odell's the most talented wideout who ever lived. I just said most talented. I didn't say the best. He's the most talented.
Whoa.
Don't.
I don't feel like
we got a guy that works at this network by the name of Randy. I don't know his middle name, Moss, who would beg to differ.
Are you sure? Okay, you want to argue Randy Moss? You can argue Randy Moss. Are you sure?
This whole different
conversation. You act like it's a ridiculous argument.
It is ridiculous because Randy Moss.
It's ridiculous? You sure Randy Moss more talented than Odell?
That's not what it says down here. Let's stick to this one. Who needs a bigger game? I believe that it is Aaron Donald, because that team is more reliant on Aaron Donald than the Browns are on Baker Mayfield. On Odell Beckham Jr. I think the Browns need the win more, but I think that all that pressure does not fall on Odell Beckham. It falls on Freddie Kitchens. It falls on Baker Mayfield. It falls on that offensive line before you even get to Odell Beckham.
It falls on Donald number one?
No. It doesn't fall on Donald number one, but Donald is much more impactful. Max. He can be more impactful on the game than anybody else. I think that they can win without Odell having a good game, but the Rams can't do anything if Aaron Donald doesn't play as well as he's been playing.
So you agree with me, Domonique, but I think it's important to point this out again. I prefaced my comments about Aaron Donald by saying I'm measuring him against himself.
Right.
I know how phenomenal he is. And all I'm trying to say to you is that you got a playoff game against the Dallas Cowboys, not one sack. You got a playoff game against New Orleans, not one sack. You got a playoff game, a Super Bowl appearance against. All I'm saying to you is this. Again, if it's anybody else, I'm thinking about the pressure on the quarterback. I'm thinking about the pressure you apply, the impact. I'm not questioning any of that. I'm just saying that he has spoiled us with such a phenomenal level of greatness that you don't anticipate that it's going to be 5 games and counting before you see him do something like that again. That's all I'm saying.
Let me use a basketball analogy. Just because someone has a lot of blocks or doesn't have any blocks doesn't mean that doesn't tell you how good they are on defense. Sometimes I think sacks fall in that category. Aaron Donald had outstanding sack numbers just last year, but just because he hasn't had a sack or he didn't have big playoff sacks or he didn't have sacks yet this season doesn't mean that he's not having an outsized impact on the game.
And by the way, he even when he takes up 2 blockers, he still gets sacks. I'm not arguing against Aaron Donald, but this one's easy, Domonique. Your logic is flawed here. Look, the Browns need the offense from Odell if they're going to win this game, right?
I don't think
Hold
so.
on. The Rams have a dynamic offense. It's not like they must rely on their defense. It's not like he's the only playmaker on defense. The Rams have a dynamic offense. In fact, when you think of the Rams, you think of offense before defense. One of the reasons they have a great defense is, of course, they have Aaron Donald. But you think of offense first. If the Browns, who are not as good as the Rams, are to succeed, I mean, we're agreeing that Donald's better for his position than Odell, but that's because he's consistently who he is. That Odell needs to be the best version of himself.
So I think part of the reason why we disagree, and we see the Browns have a schedule coming up we switch over to the Rams. The Rams have a schedule coming up that doesn't look to be getting any easier.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.